Welcome back to Action for Living. This video is the 7th in a series of 8 that covers the whole Action for Living course as an introduction to acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT. Next, here's a short video called Passengers on the Bus. It covers some of the ideas we've already discussed over the duration of the course.
I'm Tom. This is the story of my bus of life. On the journey, I pick up lots of passengers, memories, thoughts, emotions, some pleasant, some not so pleasant. Sometimes handling them can be tricky.
I knew you'd come this way again. Same old, same old.
You're pathetic.
What a grumpy lot. Don't worry, driver, I can sort them out.
Don't even think about going down there.
That way will never work out.
Where's that bus going? It looks exciting.
What do you think you're doing? You think you have what it takes? You'll just fail like last time. Dream on.
What's the point? It's too much work. Why take the risk?
Haha, it's not like it's your choice. This is my bus.
Okay, I'll turn around. Just be quiet.
Listen, let's make a secret deal. You keep doing what you're doing and I'll keep the passengers quiet for you.
Okay then, back to the same old road. Just so you know, I'm not happy about this. I like driving buses, but what I'd really love to do is be a race driver.
Loser, what do you think you're doing?
Better stick to what you know or the deal is off.
Race driver? You're a loser. Stick to driving buses.
Right, that's it. This is my bus. Get off.
Yeah, fight me. Let's see where that gets you. You pathetic excuse for a driver.
Your bus ain't going anywhere now. I don't know why you bother driving.
Hey, what's going on in that bus? Things seem to be happening differently.
You're not allowed to go that way. We've got rules.
Thanks for the feedback, guys, but this is my bus.
Maybe I don't need to get rid of this bunch. They could just come with me for the ride.
Whatever, you're still a loser.
I don't know about this.
No, what about the deal?
Racetrack, that's where I want to go.
See, we told you. What were you thinking?
You could never be a racing driver. Just play it safe.
Hang on tight, guys. Here we go!
Remember we talked about the acronym FEAR: fusion, excessive goals, avoidance of discomfort, and remoteness from values. There are several examples of fusion in the video. The bus driver has bought into the stories his passengers have been telling him, and this has resulted in him going down the same old route again and again. He's so fused with these stories that he can't see past them. He's lacking psychological flexibility. Avoidance of discomfort is also present here. The driver avoided travelling down the roads he wanted to go down because the passengers grew louder and this was uncomfortable for him. Think how this compares to ourselves when we try something new. Often our mind will yell and scream at us that it will all go horribly wrong and we need to go back to our comfort zone as soon as possible. Lastly, remoteness from values. The bus driver certainly had things that he valued in his life, but he was unable to bring these values to mind, and so he led a restricted and unhappy life, concentrating on doing everything to calm the passengers down, but ignoring the valued direction he wanted to take himself. By the end of the video, however, the driver had learned to embrace dare instead of fear, diffusion, acceptance of discomfort, realistic goals, and embracing values. So firstly, by diffusing from his experiences, though the passengers were scary and intimidating, he realised that, unable to hurt him, their presence was uncomfortable, but that's all. So he learned to accept this discomfort. Some of the passengers weren't very pleasant and continued to say horrible things to him on his journey. And though this was uncomfortable, he was willing to accept his discomfort in order to move in the direction of his values, which ties in nicely with embracing values. Here he recognized he had a clear, valued direction that he wanted to move towards, being a race driver. In this video, we're going to concentrate on fusion and diffusion, and more broadly on how our minds work. All of this will help with the task of getting on with your life. And if we're moving from fear to dare, that means moving from excessive to realistic goals, and from remoteness from values to embracing values. If you think back to the first two videos, we discussed how goals are markers on the paths of our values. So goals are like places like Birmingham or Manchester or Newcastle, while values are the directions of north or east that they lie in. Values then have no fixed endpoint and persist throughout our lives and throughout the different situations while continuing to influence us. In this session, we'll be looking at three things. Firstly, what are values and what form do they take? Following that, we'll look at how we can identify our own values and how we choose them. Lastly, we'll look at engaging in committed action, simply how we can use our values to guide our behaviour in a committed way. Over the past few sessions, you've been exploring your own values, something which you might not have been so aware of before. We began by asking you to explore what labels you might attach to your values, like love or kindness or independence. Following this, we asked you to explore the areas of your life where you are most or least living in accordance with those values. And then last time we asked you to begin to think about the sort of goals that might align with your values. Hopefully in doing this, you've begun to identify that values can come from many places and that we all have a great deal of values. Does honesty come from our religion, our profession, our friends and family, our society? It could come from a lot of different places. The difficulty with values is that, as many of you may have noticed over the last few videos, that they're actually quite difficult to pin down. It's difficult for us to identify them as they tend to be things we've built up over our lives and that just sit in the background going unspoken and influencing our lives all the same. Now hopefully the practice exercises we've been recommending over the last few sessions have supported you in starting to identify your values, as well as the areas of your life in which you're perhaps not quite living up to them. However, if you're still searching, then perhaps this next exercise will help. Can you read this? Uncle Walter loved to spend, he had no money in the end, but with many a whiskey and many a wife, he really did enjoy his life. I think it's safe to say that Walter valued a sense of humour and possibly pleasure-seeking in his life. Now, I understand this might be an unpleasant activity for many people, but if you're willing to experience a little bit of emotional discomfort, then this might be quite a useful one. So imagine that it's your wake after your funeral, with speeches given by people who know you well. What would you hope to hear these people say about you? Think of some of the things you would like to hear and try to identify the values that these comments represent. So it's not what they will say about you, but what you'd like them to, what you'd hope them to say, how you'd like to be remembered. If this example is a bit too difficult, maybe thinking about your retirement party or your 80th birthday party of people giving speeches. What would you like them to say? Here's some examples of things that maybe you'd like people to say, the ways that you like to be remembered. So values are guides. They're the signs themselves rather than the destinations printed on them. In tough times, we may need to alter actions and goals, but we can still live by our values and experience a meaningful life. In turn, this enables us to better manage our suffering. So values are beliefs linked with feelings. And in a moment, there'll be some pictures of people that might evoke some strong emotional reactions in you. Pay attention to what feelings come up and how you react, as this may well guide you towards what you value. Notice if you have any strong reactions here, whether those are positive or negative reactions to these two women on this slide. Notice whether the reasons for those reactions, whether those give you a clue to your values, maybe valuing charity, strength, or community. In a similar way, different people's values will provoke different reactions to these two men. Maybe you value freedom or equality, peace or justice. Given that values are beliefs linked with feelings, caring about things often opens us up to potential pain. For example, caring deeply about someone opens you up to the possibility of loss, betrayal, or rejection. Of course, you could avoid this pain by not getting involved and avoiding these sources of distress. Yet, what sort of life would this be? We can't have one side of the coin without the other. So, no love without loss, no acceptance without rejection. If we avoid pain, we also avoid joy. Values go beyond specific actions and situations. So perhaps you noticed a few values pop up repeatedly. This means one value we may hold could serve as a motivator for committed action across a range of areas of our life. So you may find that values such as obedience and honesty are relevant in the workplace, school, friends or strangers. This demonstrates that our values are not specific to one area, object or situation, but can be relevant in a number of them. Values serve as criteria to guide our behaviour, and they guide how we live, so our values and our actions can be very intertwined. Our values often guide how we choose to behave or how we judge certain events or situations. So, for example, if you feel that justice is a value you possess, you may find that cases of injustice guide your behaviour to ensure that justice is served. You may work in an area that allows you to make positive changes to cases of injustice, or you may attend events which promote justice in an area you feel is important. Therefore, you're behaving in a way that allows you to promote your value of justice. If our actions do not match our values, this could be contributing to some of our suffering. For example, if we value social connectedness but say no to an invitation to a party due to anxiety, you might avoid the pain of anxiety but also feel sad and guilty about missing the event. Values are ordered by importance relative to each other. So, for example, people's values form an ordered system of priorities that characterize them as individuals. Some people may place more importance on novelty compared to tradition. Therefore, they may enjoy it when things are new and different compared to someone else who may enjoy things being more the same, more predictable. The relative importance of multiple values guides action. We can, of course, value more than one thing. So any attitude or behavior typically has implications for more than one value. You may find that you value achievement and find this throughout your career. However, you may also value love and find this through your family. You're offered a promotion in work, which means you have to work more hours, spending maybe less time with your family. Here, your values may conflict, so you may have to weigh up what would be more important in this context. If your children are young, you might decide to turn down the promotion to spend more time with them. But if they're older, maybe you decide to take up the promotion. Choosing to act in line with one value over another does not mean that the other values no longer important to us or that we don't care. It can be very difficult to handle such conflicts and may lead to suffering or guilt. Sometimes it takes some testing out to find out which values should guide your action, and this can change with time and context. The example from the previous achievement versus family is a good example of this. So values help us decide what our goals are and motivate our actions. They refer to desirable goals that motivate action. People for whom social order, justice, helpfulness are important values are motivated to pursue these. It's unlikely that you would have a value that you do not, in some capacity, feel an urge to act on. You might inhibit that urge for many reasons, but the urge will still be there. You'll still want to act on your values. Remember, though, that values and goals are not the same thing. While values are a direction, like going west, goals are points along the way that we could achieve, we could get to, like London or Berlin or Moscow. So In order to live your life to the full, your actions need to be in line with your values. They need to be in line with the things that we care about, the things that are meaningful to us. This will happen if you make a firm commitment to travel boldly in the direction that reflects your values, even if it sometimes hurts. Typically, people get into politics because of taking action in line with their values. Regardless of whether you agree with them, you might agree that taking action in line with values tends to be something people become committed to. Let's go through an example of committed action now. Let's focus on valuing health. So say I want to quit smoking so I can run and keep up with my child in football practice and to be healthy enough to be around for their adult life. So knowing health is one of my values obviously sets a clear direction for how I should live my life. I value health, but I smoke 20 a day. So there's a clear clash here between my values and my behavior. We might change that should into a want. The point is that this is something I want to do, not something someone else thinks I should do. Having goals that match our values will increase our motivation to change. To live in accordance with their values, they would stop smoking. But the discomfort of craving for nicotine when they haven't had a cigarette may well be stopping them from quitting. So in a sense, smoking is an avoidance action. Smoking is a way of avoiding the discomfort of craving for nicotine. So we can see here how our values, diffusion, and acceptance of discomfort all come into play with regards to how we act. All of these factors influence how likely we are to commit to an action. And over the course, we've been building up a trio of factors that influence our actions. In this triangle of commitment, we've been developing your ability to be present, to accept the discomfort that might be an unavoidable aspect of our lives. We've been working to improve our skill at diffusing, of stepping back from our thoughts and recognizing them for what they are. And we've been exploring our values and the way these may act to focus our lives and motivate us to live in a more fulfilling manner. But of course, people often make a commitment and then break it. They often assume that commitment is a one-time decision and a straight path thereafter. They may decide to give up smoking and then assume they'll never have another cigarette, but maybe they end up having one on a night out. Or decide to go on a diet by cutting out all sugary and fatty foods, but then maybe have a slice of cake at a birthday party. Or they might decide to accept the discomfort of their anxiety, but then avoid meeting up with friends because they're feeling too nervous. So they'll all be traveling along their chosen path, but then fall off it because that's life and there's always a bump in the road. At which point they might decide that they failed, becoming very fused with that thought, and then remain off their chosen path. Maybe thinking, well, I've had a cigarette now, I might as well have another. Or I've had a slice of cake now, I might as well eat the whole thing. Alternatively, they might remain committed to their choice and so get back onto the original path. I didn't accept my discomfort yesterday and I missed out on seeing my friends, but organise another meetup instead of feeling like a failure. So in summary, committed action is commitment to the choice you made, even if you slip up in your actions, you can remain in touch with the original choice and use your same commitment to it to get back on track, staying in touch with your values, focusing on the present moment and accepting discomfort while diffusing from your mind's attempts to trip us up will all help you in doing this. That's it for Act 4 Part 1. I hope your commitment to following this course will have you watching the video for Part 2 that will follow on from this and be the final video of the course. We'll be looking specifically at goal setting and then trying to bring the whole course together. I hope you will join us.